The fragmented land had finally been unified, but under a reign of ruthlessness. However, it was not long until the Far East was thrown right back into turmoil, once again seeing various powers battle for supremacy. This time, a new ruling system was to take charge and stamp its fingerprint and governance that would last for millennia. Hello, and welcome to Impactful Moments, where we explore some of the most, you guessed it, impactful moments in human history. In this video, we will discuss the Han Dynasty, the empire that shaped Chinese culture. As noted in previous videos, my American tongue will likely butcher many of the names in this video, so please give some leeway. In 221 BCE, Shi Huangdi, emperor of the state of Qin, accomplished the impossible, unifying China's diverse warring states, marking a pivotal moment in Chinese history. However, the harsh Qin rule and oppressive policies sowed discontent among the people. Amidst this, Liu Bang, a peasant-turned-government official, began gaining a reputation. In one daring incident, after the escape of a prisoner under his watch, he released the remaining prisoners and fled rather than facing death, which was the punishment for allowing the escape. This earned him a positive reputation among prisoners and other anti-Qin factions. Upon Qin Shi Huang's death, discontent escalated, and his successor, Emperor Qin Shi, couldn't maintain the balance, leading to the unraveling of the Qin Dynasty. In 206 BCE, a rebel coalition led by Liu Bang and Zhang Yu took the Qin capital of Xiangyang, defeating the last Qin emperor, Ziying, marking the end of Qin rule. This led to what would become known as the Chu-Han contention, named for Zhang Yu of Chu and Liu Bang of Han. The conflict largely began with a failed assassination attempt of Liu Bang, and Zhang Yu's attempt to impose his hegemony over the land, which had essentially fragmented into 18 kingdoms. Many in China sided with Liu Bang, who had a more merciful reputation and wanted to reunite the kingdoms. Skirmishes at Pingcheng, Jingsao, and Chenggao ensued, with victories and setbacks for both the Chu and Han factions. At the pivotal 202 BCE Battle of Gaijia, Liu Bang emerged victorious. Zhang Yu's defeat led him to take his own life, marking Liu Bang's ascendancy and the establishment of the Han Dynasty. Liu Bang, eventually known by his royal name Emperor Gaozu, put forward efforts to consolidate power and restore stability to a war-torn China. The administration witnessed key reforms, with Gaozu lowering taxes, establishing a centralized bureaucracy to govern the vast empire, and promoting the ability of the people over royal birth as a factor deciding success in life. Following his death, the early Han, while technically ruled by Gaozu's sons and grandsons, was largely controlled by the Empress Dowager, Lu Ci, who elevated her family to positions of power. She ruled with ruthlessness, particularly against her opponents, but also brought order to the empire until her death, when the Liu clan reascended to power. While certainly experiencing periods of unrest and rebellion, the early Han leadership achieved consolidation and expansion of territory, as well as bureaucratic leadership that would govern vast lands. They also addressed a long-standing contention with the Xiongnu, their neighboring nomadic tribes, by opting to pay off rather than contend with these northern neighbors. While many viewed this move as weak, it was effective and allowed the government to largely achieve stability and the advancement of internal affairs. This led to advancements in education and literacy, including the invention of paper and calligraphy, which promoted more widespread and democratized education systems and intellectual development. The Han also began shifting their governing philosophy toward Confucianism and a more moral and ethical approach to governance, which had been suppressed by the Qin Dynasty before them. This approach became a defining feature of the dynasty, and has prevailed for millennia in Chinese thought and governance since its reintroduction by the Han. The dynasty reached its pinnacle and what is largely considered the Chinese Golden Age under Emperor Wu, or Han Wudi, who is often seen as one of China's most ambitious rulers and whose reign marked an era of territorial expansion. Through military conquests and diplomatic initiatives, Emperor Wu extended the empire's borders to its greatest extent. Under his leadership, China also began to connect with the West through its establishment of one of the most influential trade networks in human history, the Silk Road, a network of trading paths that would connect the two worlds for over 1,500 years. Emperor Wu's conquests, however, depleted the army's wealth, and, after his death, the subsequent rulers faced challenges in maintaining the empire's stability. This period saw a series of short-lived and relatively weaker rulers, with frequent changes to the throne. The emperors often became puppets to dowager empresses and powerful factions. In 9 CE, Wang Mang, a high-ranking official, orchestrated a coup, overthrowing the ruling Han lineage. This marked the beginning of a short-lived Qin Dynasty and an end to the former, or Western, Han Dynasty. Wang Mang's reign was characterized by economic turmoil, social unrest, and political instability as he implemented radical reforms, including the redistribution of land and wealth, an attempt to alleviate the economic disparities in society. These measures faced strong resistance as they failed to address many underlying issues. Following a series of floods and famine, a major rebel group, the Red Eyebrows, overthrew the Qin rule, killing Wang Mang in 23 CE. An attempt to restore Han rule was also suppressed by the Red Eyebrows, who instead installed a puppet emperor. In 25 CE, Liu Xiu, a descendant of the Han imperial family, rose to power, signaling the restoration of the latter, or Eastern, Han Dynasty. Liu Xiu put down the Red Eyebrow Rebellion in 27 CE, proclaiming himself Emperor Guangwu. During his and his successors' reigns, China put down rebellions in Korea and Vietnam and renewed quarrels with the Xiongnu tribes to the north. Despite these contentions, the early Eastern Han period is still seen as a period of recovery from the political turbulence of the Qin, leading to a second, smaller dynastic golden age under Emperor Qiang from 75 to 88 CE. The period following Qiang's death was characterized by the rise of eunuchs who exerted considerable influence over young puppet emperors. These eunuchs, including the 10 attendants, who were actually 12 eunuchs, initially attended to imperial court matters, but ended up imposing self-serving decrees. These included the partisan prohibitions, which imprisoned many government Confucian scholars who opposed the eunuchs, as well as laws that enriched the powerful but created devastating conditions for the peasantry. Following floods, plagues, and lacking help from the government, a man named Chiang Tzu traveled across China providing free healing sessions to the poor, all the while quietly garnering support from the peasants. This eventually amassed into a significant uprising known as the Yellow Turban Rebellion, which erupted in 184 CE. While initially suppressed, small dispersed groups of yellow turbans continued wreaking havoc across the empire over the next 2 decades, amassing hundreds of thousands of peasants and disaffected citizens. The Han struggled to fully suppress the rebellion, instead relying on the local commanderies or administrative divisions of the empire to quell the uprising, in which hundreds of thousands or possibly even millions of rebels and commandery soldiers were killed. While ultimately quashing the rebellion, this had unintended consequences for the Han. The commanderies, gaining military and administrative power during this process, gradually became more powerful than the central government. Over time, and specifically following the Battle of Red Cliffs in 208 CE, the commanderies coalesced into 3 main spheres of influence. The north, dominated by Cao Cao, the south led by Sun Quan, and the west led by Liu Bei. Following Cao Cao's death in 220 CE, his son, Cao Pi, forced Emperor Xian to abdicate the throne, formally ending the Han Dynasty and plunging China into its 3 kingdoms period. The Han Dynasty, spanning over 4 centuries, ushered in transformative changes from the preceding Qin and Warring States period in the region. Central to its impact was the integration of Confucian thought into the fabric of Chinese society. Emperor Wu's endorsement of Confucianism as the state ideology elevated it to a position of paramount influence. Confucian principles emphasizing moral rectitude, filial piety, and social harmony became the guiding ethos of the empire. Liu Bang's ascent as a peasant-turned-ruler foreshadowed a shift toward meritocracy over nobility. The introduction of civil service exams as a prerequisite for attaining government positions during the Han rule allowed individuals from any background to attain power, promoting a more inclusive governance system. The invention of paper further democratized education, providing opportunities for advancement across social classes. Geographically, the Han reign marked a period of significant territorial expansion, particularly under Emperor Wu, fostering cultural cross-pollination with the West. The introduction of the Silk Road facilitated trade and cultural exchange, enlarging the empire both physically and culturally, and began a long period of fusion in which the Eastern and Western worlds were no longer isolated from each other. Many regard the cultural implementations of the Han Dynasty as the bedrock upon which Chinese culture and identity stand. An overwhelming percentage of the contemporary Chinese population identifies as ethnic Han, with an estimated between 15 and 20% of the entire global population sharing this identity. The Han impacts noted above have spread well beyond both its Chinese borders and its pocket in time, touching all corners of the world for millennia to come. The reintroduction of Confucianism during the Han Dynasty laid the philosophical groundwork for Chinese society, also becoming a dominant philosophical thought in the West. Its principles have stood the test of time, shaping societal norms and interpersonal relationships. The Han commitment to meritocracy over nobility, exemplified by the civil service examination system, has persisted throughout Chinese history, playing a role in governance selection for over 2,000 years, until its abolishment in the 20th century CE. The dynasty's invention of paper, intended to further promote education and communication during its reign, has touched every corner of our civilized globe in areas of literature, education, record-keeping, and the facilitation and global dissemination of knowledge and communication, with no end in sight. The inauguration of the Silk Road, a monumental achievement during the Han Dynasty, has had far-reaching and even some unintended consequences. This ancient trade network not only facilitated the exchange of goods, but also became a conduit for cultural fusions and the spread of religious ideas, playing a crucial role in the rise and spread of Buddhism. The trade network connected worlds for over 1,500 years, spreading philosophies and foreign goods, but it also inadvertently played a significant role in the spread of diseases, most notably facilitating the transcontinental transmission of the bubonic plague centuries later. If you enjoyed this video and found it informative, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us to continue creating captivating, impactful historical content. Thanks for watching.